Body, mind, and soul. That's what you need to connect on in a relationship. Hey guys, this is Andy with Mindset Matters More. And today we're talking about relationships and how fundamentally there are three levels that you need to connect with somebody on: body, mind, and soul. So let's get into it. Like, why was I thinking about this? And I was thinking about this because I'm doing another book review that I'm working on, and listening to the audiobook and reading the book and doing some research and just kind of having some musings about the different aspects of how we live. And one of those things that pops up is that that's how we live is for the body, mind, and soul. And then I started thinking about the relationships that we have, how those also need to fill that requirement, right? So the first is that eventually you're going to see that there are three kinds of people. There are people who only stimulate you on one of the kinds of facets, the body, mind, or soul. There are people who only satisfy two of them: the body, the mind, the body, the soul, or the mind and the soul. Some combination there. But then there are the people who are closest to us who need to fulfill all three of them. And it's not that they need to, but in order for it to be a successful relationship, generally they will fulfill those three things. So what does that mean? And this is going to look different from relationship to relationship. So not everybody's going to fulfill your body in the same way that your spouse does. You know, your kids, they fulfill a hug, they fulfill a kiss on the cheek. Your spouse is going to fulfill you a lot more intimately. So I don't want you to think that every relationship is going to look the same in the fulfillment of that facet. Okay, so let's talk about the body. So I already began touching on what that means. So in a relationship, there are certain bodily requirements that we need. Now, some of it is touch, some of it is respect for no touch, and through that, we find that the physical sensation of people is one amazing way in which it like fulfills a need for us. Now, there's some people who don't like to be touched, who don't want to be touched, and that is also the other side of it, is that there's like a boundary that it's like, I know that I am not going to touch this person, and I respect that. So I respect that this person bodily does not want to be touched. Now, there are different kinds of touch. There's, holding hands, there's high-fiving, handshakes, there's hugs, there's kisses, there's more intimate acts. And so the relationship that like can explore the different facets of it, that's what's really going to add a layer of connection to another person, to any relationship, right? Now, there's also like you go to a doctor and they're going to touch you. You know that they're going to touch you in a professional manner. You know that the dentist isn't going to jam his finger up your nose. You know that he's not going to like put something in your mouth that like isn't a medical tool or like a dental tool. And there, it's like it becomes very personal in this exchange of trust. Okay. So for me, it runs the gamut. Like, I love hugging people, but then there are days where I just don't want to hug anybody. There are people who I will kiss on the cheek, and people who I just feel like that is inappropriate. Like, I'm not going to go see my doctor and be like, hey, kiss him on the cheek. I'm just going to say, hey, what's up? Give him a handshake or whatever. My husband, we kiss, we touch, we snuggle. We have more personal interaction physically than we would anywhere else. So there are different layers to, what it is that you want from somebody, what you require from somebody, and what the relationship requires. So there's that facet. So then let's go to the mind part, because I think this one is really important, is that you need to be surrounded by people who stimulate you intellectually and creatively. People who support you in like a cheerleader kind of way. That people who tell you that they appreciate you, people who support your decisions, and that, that it's about the mind and how we get to this psychological protection that we get from people. So we expect people to be kind, patient, and then when they're like rude and mean and impatient, we're like, oh, there's like a lack of safety there. So people have to do to meet you on that level too. But let's talk about this intellectual connection, because let's say that you are somebody who loves to read books about self-help. I mean, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but you're somebody who likes to read books about self-help. Okay, it would be very weird to have a conversation with somebody whose sole interest was cars. Like, they would be talking about cars, you'll be talking about self help, and yeah, maybe there would be a little bit of overlap, but over time, the intellectual stimulation isn't going to be sufficient enough to be able to maintain that relationship. And that also goes for, like, just wanting to express yourself. If you're somebody who's very expressive about emotions and feelings and stuff like that, but the person who's listening to you is very closed off and they don't do that, there's no intellectual stimulation in there about talking about these things. So the lines of communication have to be open regarding what it is you think, what it is that, how you interpret things. So remember that too. So it's not just about having things in common. It's also about how you process information, having a commonality, or at the very least, understanding that, hey, this is how I communicate. This is how another person communicates. And so I'm going to try to speak their language. Now, the caveat to that is that they also need to learn the way that you communicate and try to communicate with you through there, because it's not going to work if you're the one always reaching to speak their communication language when they don't try to reach yours. And the third way that we need to connect with people is spiritually. Now, spiritually, like, embodies how we feel on the inside. It's our feelings. It's not communication style. It's not how we touch each other physically. It's how we feel. It's, do we feel safe? Do we feel loved? Do we, like, how is our spirit feeling today? Do we feel safe? Do we feel secure? Do we feel lack? Do we feel abundance? Do we feel connected to God? And not only that, it's about how we feel with that person, but also with God. And do they support that connection with God? Do they bring you closer to your spirituality? Do they challenge you to level yourself up? Do they challenge you to push yourself outside of your comfort levels for your benefit? I'm not talking about coercion and people trying to get you to do shit that you don't want to do, that you never have any, like, desire to do. Like somebody saying, well, you're not spiritual because you don't run a fucking marathon. Like, I don't want to run a marathon. Like, you're not challenging me to be better. You're just pushing me to do something that I don't want to do. So there is a difference between those two things. Somebody who sees, oh, sometimes you can be a little bit pushy. You should really take a look into that. Or, somebody who's just going to point something out to you for your betterment. And not in a fucked up way either. Not somebody who's going to talk shit to you, talk shit about you, or be rude to you about it. It's like, hey, I'm telling you this from a loving place. Like, I noticed this about you. What do you think? Or however the communication happens. Point is that the spiritual side of people with you, it's important, because are they leveling you up spiritually? And spirituality is like a weird, like, there is no definition to the word spirituality, but is it connecting you to yourself, to your highest self, the relationship? Are they pushing you to be better? Whew, that was a lot, guys. That just kind of came out of nowhere. So you probably notice I'm like driving around right now and hear me hitting speed bumps left and right. So I'm going to stop recording now. I just wanted to share this with you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful week, okay? Love you guys. Bye.